Day 3 of the West Texas storm train's complete. Let's move on to day 4, but guess what? We have some changes coming up after the weekend into next week. We're finally going to get out of this little blocky weather pattern and start actually getting some rain chances back further east. Let's talk about in today's edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning. It is Thursday, the 25th of May, 2023. I am Baldyinchief David Reimer coming at you after a bit of a nap and with a whole lot of caffeine, which means, we're energetic this morning. And that's a good thing because we're still keeping an eye on some stormies this morning. We've had a complex of storms move southeast overnight across portions of the southern Texas Panhandle. West Texas now making its happy self down into the eastern Permian Basin, portions of the Big Country, and northwest Texas. Up into western Oklahoma, you can see we've actually had a bit of a swirl develop with storms across 1, southwest Kansas overnight, 2, sort of western Oklahoma. These are called mesoscale convective vortex, MCV, and obviously that was a singular term. If I try to say the plural term, I'll mess it up, so I'm not going to. And that essentially has kept these storms going most of the night, given just a little extra lift, and that's why we still have stormies ongoing here as we approach the 6 a.m. sunrise hour across portions of western Texas. Nothing severe at this point, and the overall severe chance is not particularly high this morning, but some of these storms may still manage to crank out a wee bit of hail, gusty winds, heavy rain, plenty of cloud-to-ground lightning, and here, as the sun rises over the next hour, actually probably going to get some pretty cool sunrise shots out of this. I'm pretty jealous of any photographers down in the Big Country right now who may get to witness that. But again, heavy rain definitely occurring with these, and we're going to have to see exactly what occurs with these storms, where they eventually dissipate over the next few hours. And I think they probably will dissipate unless we just do something weird and, they somehow manage to make it all the way into central Texas in a few hours, but none of the high-res weather models have that happening. But would I totally rule it out? No, because Mother Nature can be mean and hateful to me sometimes. Usually Mother Nature likes to make me look like, well, a fool, which is why I'm Baldyinchief. So we'll see what happens with that, but if logic holds true, which again, this isn't Star Trek, so we'll see, these should be dissipating within the next few hours, but we'll see. All right, let's head into later today, into tonight. Guess what? If you guessed more storms, you're right. We're doing it again across portions of eastern New Mexico, the Texas Panhandle, especially western Texas Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, down into the Guadalupe Mountains, the Trans-Pecos, the Davis Mountains, down into southwest Texas, Big Bend National Park, a bit of far west Texas being the borderland technically around El Paso, but technically Van Horn's in that risk. And again, this is the lowest out of 5 risk coverage levels, means about a 1 in 10 to a 1 in 20 chance of some rowdy severe storms in your neck of the woods today, tonight, and early tomorrow morning if we had woods out in this part of the state, which we don't really have. So maybe I should have just said your valley, your mountain, whatever. Yesterday's risk, we ended up having a level 3 in in West Texas, right on the border of New Mexico, and we certainly did have quite a bit of an active Wednesday across eastern New Mexico into West Texas last evening. Today does not look like we're going to have that level of severe weather occur again, but as you might guess, we are going to have at least a few severe storms. Largest hail this afternoon will probably be with some of the individual supercells in eastern New Mexico down into portions of the Trans-Pecos, southwest Texas, Big Bend National Park, the western Permian Basin with any supercells that fire up by mid-afternoon. We could see golf ball to tennis ball size hail out of those slow-moving supercells, localized winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour, the potential for blowing dust. The tornado threat today is very, very, very low. Am I going to say 0? No, because then Mother Nature would squeak out a tornado just to make me look like more of a fool. But again, a tornado threat today definitely much lower than it was yesterday in eastern New Mexico and West Texas. Much weaker low-level flow and all of that. Now, we are going to need to see how today is going to play out with the thunderstorm complex that is still ongoing this morning across portions of the Permian Basin, how the atmosphere recovers as we head into the lunchtime and early afternoon hours, as that'll dictate some of what may unfold later today into this evening. We're going to need to see if there's an outflow boundary that pushes down into the Trans-Pecos region, as that may become a focal point for storm development, kind of like what the high-res rapid refresh model is showing here. And again, if this complex of storms decides to do some hanky-panky stuff and just keep on going this morning towards portions of the Concho Valley. Well, our forecast may need to be revised a bit. Otherwise, we're going to see scattered severe storms this afternoon. Eastern New Mexico down to the Trans-Pecos. Those storms, eastern New Mexico, just like last evening, going to organize into clusters that move into the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin late this evening into early Friday morning. The potential for heavy rainfall, cloud to ground lightning, localized winds over 60 miles an hour, maybe some hail. I don't think we're going to have as much of a hail issue tonight, late this evening into early Friday morning that we did last evening into early this morning. Yeah, I do this for days on end. It gets confusing. But again, heavy rainfall is certainly a possibility. In fact, we're starting to have some hydrometeorological issues with these repetitive overnight thunderstorm complexes across parts of the western Panhandle and West Texas. But you know what? The drought, if we're going to get rid of a drought, this is one way to be on the road to do that. So hopefully we can keep that up. All right, as we head into Friday, we're going to tick it back up on the severe weather risk scale. For now, we have a level 2 risk across portions of eastern New Mexico into the western Texas Panhandle and West Texas west of Interstate 27 up against the New Mexico border. That's about a 1 in 5 to a 1 in 6 chance for a few rowdy severe storms. With that level 1 risk again across the western half of the Panhandle, down Interstate 27 to Lubbock, down into the Guadalupe Mounds, the Trans-Pecos, the Davis Mounds, Southwest Texas, Big Bend National Park, and the Permian Basin. And tomorrow, we're going to see a bit of an uptick in wind shear. We're going to have a stronger, comparatively, upper level impulse come on kicking in. That's going to increase the winds aloft across eastern New Mexico. We're also going to see an uptick in low-level wind shear, much like we saw yesterday. So the potential for more organized supercellular thunderstorms with the potential for some higher threat of tornadoes could materialize across eastern New Mexico tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening, and that may persist into at least the early to mid-evening hours as storms propagate east into the western Texas Panhandle and West Texas. So this risk may end up getting bumped up a bit along with that tornado risk. I know that says very low, but that may get bumped up a wee bit as we get a bit closer. Otherwise, just like today, we could see a few storms pop up after about 2 p.m. Central Time in southwest Texas, up into eastern New Mexico. Those propagate east into the Panhandle, West Texas, Permian Basin as thunderstorm complexes tomorrow night. Here's a look at the high-res rapid refresh model for tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. You can see pretty much we're doing this again. I mean, this is what? Today's day 4, tomorrow will be day 5, Saturday will be day 6. Hint, by the way, we're doing this again Saturday, too, in case you weren't aware of that. So again, here's what it may look like tomorrow night. So today, all things considered, might be a little bit lower of a severe weather risk, but tomorrow into tomorrow night into Saturday morning, we're probably going to ramp it up again. We're going to be a bit busy across the Panhandle, West Texas, down into parts of Southwest Texas. We do see these patterns set up every few years, typically. But it's usually in mid-June. We're doing it a bit early this year. And obviously we didn't have any sort of nonsense like this last year. We were well on our way into the summer of hell last year by this point. So, kind of like a monsoon, but also with a bit of spinny doom mischief mixed in. So, in terms of forecast rain totals for the next 3 days, this is 7 a.m. this morning, Thursday, through 7 a.m. Sunday. And yeah, this is not a duplicate from yesterday. In fact, it's come up a bit. With these overnight thunderstorm complexes expected to continue for the next several days, we could see another, at this point, 2 to 4 inches on average of rain across the Texas Panhandle, West Texas, down into portions of the Permian Basin, the Davis Mounds, down into Big Bend National Park, Southwest Texas. And again, at this point, we've already had a few to several inches of rain across several locations in the western Panhandle, West Texas. So add this on top of it, we are starting to deal with the increasing potential for some hydrometeorological issues. The non-nerdy way to say that is the chance we're going to start dealing with more and more flooding, roads being closed because of high water, bar ditches overflowing, all that sort of stuff is increasing as we continue to deal with these rounds of storms. So, yeah, flood watches, flash flood warnings, that's going to become more and more common over the next few days with these overnight thunderstorm complexes across portions of the Panhandle, West Texas, down to Southwest Texas. And again, I think I forgot to show it because I'm a derp, but here's the severe weather outlook for Saturday. Same story. It shifts a little west, but honestly, there's really no big change compared to, say, today. So, yeah, we're doing it again on Saturday, too. Yippee. All right, in terms of forecast highs over the next several days across Texas, because, some folks may have forgotten, but yeah, we do actually cover the entire state of Texas outside of what stormies may be going on. There aren't going to really be many stormies outside the areas we talked about over the next several days. Today's high temperatures, 70s across the Panhandle in West Texas, where we're going to have that rain-cooled air mass in place with cloud cover. Otherwise, outside of that, temperatures across the rest of the state generally in the mid to upper 80s to lower 90s, maybe a couple of mid 90s down around Pecos and the Edwards Plateau and the Rio Grande Plains. Honestly, not too bad for this time of year. And compared to last year, we are in so much better shape in the not trying to break the all-time hottest summer record of doom department. So I'm just happy about that. And frankly, temperatures, we're going to be doing the same thing for the next several days. The only difference is we're probably going to start upticking a couple of degrees as we get through the weekend into early next week. But here's Saturday, for example. I mean, the same story. Sunday, this is when we're going to start upticking a bit here as we start to change the upper level pattern a bit. We're going to finally break down that big mean high pressure block across the southeastern United States has been preventing the jet stream further west from departing. As that occurs, we're going to start heading into somewhat of a more summer pattern in the sense of we're not going to have a bunch of upper level wind shear, or at least modest amounts of upper level wind shear over the western third of Texas. But the result, without a big high pressure dome sitting on top of us, is just going to be an increase in the chance for the afternoon chance for pop-up or popcorn thunderstorms across the state as we get into next week. Those afternoon storms that go up during the diurnal cycle, most frequent, most numerous during the mid-afternoon hours during peak heating, and then they start fizzling out as we get closer to dinner time and sunset, and then they're gone by, 10 o'clock typically. That is going to become a more common occurrence as we get into next week across many regions of the state. High temperature forecast by Monday, generally speaking, 80s to middle 90s. As we do that, midweek, as we get into mid next week, we may actually start cooling it off a little bit in terms of temperatures because of all the pop-up thunderstorm chances. So that at least would not have a organized widespread threat for severe storms. But of course, any summertime storm can produce localized winds, microbursts, plenty of cloud-to-ground lightning, locally heavy rainfall, but also that rain-cooled air mass that we so come to enjoy and love, especially if it's 100 degrees. So we'll be chasing again today, it looks like, at least most of us. It may be a down day for some of our chasers to reorganize, but I can tell you this, many of our chasers are going to be chasing tomorrow, Friday, in eastern New Mexico and West Texas, a very interesting looking setup for stormy mischief in the Chasey Spin Spin Doom Doom department. And so be sure to check us out on YouTube, Texas Storm Chasers. We're going to have our live streaming chaser wall up again today, tomorrow, Saturday, probably onward from there. And of course, if necessary, live severe weather coverage. So make sure you've got the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app downloaded, and we'll keep you up to date. You have a good Thursday. We'll have the next regular Texas weather roundup out by 7 a.m. Friday. Have a good one, and God bless.